specific business domain. For example, in the current application that we are working on, so for example, I don't know the business of Sachin, whatever the application he's working on, right? But still, we share some common libraries, which is Bento, right? So we can still, but it could extend to even more better. But currently, if you take the example, it is Bento, right? So I don't know the business other application is having, but still we can work, we can share the same components, right? And the next thing is scalability. So as we are not dependent on, like, each developer has to work on their application, so it can be scaled independently. So I don't have to depend on any other services. So these are very common use cases, and also the faster development cycle. So I don't have to wait for any other application changes. So I can also work on my changes, which will yield in faster development cycle. And next, some of the key features of micro frontend. So this can be technology agnostic. So what this means is, so this is one one thing we can say in the current application we're working on. It is not working in that way, because if you see all the application we have in the parent application in the cell, all of them are in Angular. Okay, but in a micro frontend architecture, so it should be technology agnostic. That means that let's say one page can be in Angular and one component can be in React. So a slider can be a React component. Still, a Angular or a Vue.js app can use that. Okay, so that is the one key advantages of the micro frontend. We'll see also how we can do that. And also autonomous teams, so without minimal coordination, developers can start working on them. So this is this thing we are aware of, but this thing we are missing on the project we are working on. Okay. So if micro frontends are that beneficial, then should everyone use micro frontend? No. There are some use cases in which the micro frontends are beneficial. So these are the use cases. So if you have a large scale projects or diverse tech stacks, as we mentioned, if one part is an let's say some of the legacy code is already there in React or Vue, and that organization introduced Angular, so they don't have to again rewrite everything, right? So they should be able to reuse the components from the React application as well. So you can have diverse tech stacks, but still you can share data, or you can also have a shared state as well. Okay. So also incremental upgrades. So we'll learn a bit more about this in what are the incremental builds as well. So what happens is in incremental upgrades. So if you are making one build today and you made a few changes, after a week, if you will make another build, so the last builds can be cached and reused. Okay, so that it will not build everything from scratch. But in the current application we're working on, that builds everything from the scratch again. So we'll also see how we can eliminate that part. Okay, so now this was just a very high level idea on why micro frontend and what is the use of this. So now we'll dive it deep with the micro frontend with Angular. So how we can do it with Angular. So let's say we don't know about NX right now. So as of now, we just know about Angular CLI, and you are asked to create a micro frontend application using Angular. So how you will do that? So this is the steps for that. So if you so in this way, the application we are working on that was created for the client application. So this is the way. So how? So as you know, if you will have to create a new Angular application, we use this command engine new, then the application name. But if you want to have a workspace where you will have multiple applications, so you have to pass a new flag to this one, which is create application files. So if you so for example, engine new, my application or the organization name you can say, and you have to pass a flag of create application files. So then what it will do is it will not create any application, rather it will just create a workspace for you. And inside that workspace, you can have multiple application, you can have multiple libraries and all. So let's say once you hit this command and the application is created, the parent application is created, so then you can use this Angular command engine generate application, your app 1 and app 2. And for example, we have different applications, right? So they have their name. So in this way, we can create a different application. Then for them to communicate with each other and routing setup, we can have a cell application as well. So you can see the syntax is very much similar in the generate because the cell is also an application. So that will hold the routing for the other applications. So this way we can have the routing setup with a Angular workspace way. This is not a NX way. So we'll see how NX can help in this case. So this is the use case in the Angular approach. Okay. So I'll probably take a pause if we have any questions or anything up to this point.
Nothing from me.
Nothing from me as well. Cool.
Okay, thank you. So till now we saw what is the micro frontend and what is the use of it and how we can create a micro frontend architecture using Angular. Okay, but there are some limitations with this approach. If we start with Angular, so what are the limitations? The first limitation is we know, so it is limited to Angular. So if tomorrow the use case comes of having a React application or a Vue application in that workspace, so that's not natively supported. Okay. And also there are some other disadvantages to this approach as well, because the Angular CLI doesn't provide us any scaling tool as such, and also it has supports for only the Angular ecosystem. So for example, you are limited to use Angular material or something, right? So these are the limitation. And if you'll see the Bento components that we're working on, that is also based upon Angular material. So they have created that out of Angular material. So it is again getting limited to Angular ecosystem. And handling interdependency can become difficult if the number of projects grows. So currently, let's say we have around 10 projects, but if you see I've seen applications with hundreds of applications inside it in the front end as well, right? So if you have a lot of applications like that, so at point you will have difficulties to manage, like which library is dependent on which application. For example, let's say you have a drop down, right? So that drop down is used by multiple applications. So if you make a change at that drop down, so it can break a lot of application. But Angular does not give us any tool to find out, like if I'm making a change on this one, how it will impact the other applications. So once we'll see the NX way, you can get more clarity, like on this point, like how NX is helping on that side. Then it also lacks a mechanism to optimize the process along with multiple interconnected projects. So it's nearly the same thing. If there are some libraries, because the architecture is like you can have multiple application and you can have multiple libraries as well. So each library can be consumed by multiple applications. So that's how it works. So it doesn't provide any better way to manage those interconnected projects. Okay, so to solve all these problems, so we'll learn about NX. So NX is a tool and its website is nx.dev. So it's you can say it is a framework. Okay, framework on top of all these Angular, React or anything. And it also supports backend with Nest.js as well. Okay, but it's mostly popular in the front end region. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of the Angular we discussed. So we'll see how NX will benefit in this approach. So these are the first disadvantages. Like in Angular, it was supporting limited to Angular as well, but in NX it supports Angular, React or Vue or anything. Okay, so now we discussed that it lacks on advanced tools. But in NX, it provides us some useful commands like NX affected. So also we'll see this in action in command, like how we can use this tool NX affected. So I'll also give you a brief. So if you use NX affected, for example, in this place you'll say build. So it will identify, like from the last build, if you have made some changes, that which projects or libraries that change has affected. So it will show you a graph and dependency so that you can figure out, like, okay, these applications have been affected, and it will also build that application only. Okay, so this is how it works. Then the next one is like the first, it was Angular was limited to Angular ecosystem, and in that, if we want Cypress or anything, we have to install and configure that again later, right? It doesn't come with Storybook or Cypress. It only gives us adjustment for the unit testing. But in NX, it comes as a package. File you'll create an NX workspace. You'll be asked if you want a Cypress or anything. And also one more thing, if you'll start an Angular project, it by default takes the build tool as Webpack. But in NX approach, you will have the flexibility to even choose or change your build tool. You can choose to have ES build over Webpack or anything, right? So those are the very great advantages that NX offers. We'll also see them in action in coming slides. Okay, and also to see those dependencies we discussed, if you are changing in one library, so what changes it will make in different library. We have a command for the NX div graph, so it will build you a tree, so that you can see which nodes are affected. We'll also say this. Okay, then also it gives us some better advantages like incremental build and intelligent caching. We'll see what is the incremental build and intelligent caching. Okay, so in next slide we'll just see what is incremental build and intelligent caching, and going forward we'll start a next project and we'll see how it looks like. Okay, so probably I'm boring you with a lot of slides. So after this slide, we'll do some hands-on. So what is incremental build? So incremental build is, for example, in Angular, let's say, if you'll do an ng build, it will build the whole application. If you'll do it multiple times, it will build the application multiple times. But in NX, as it uses incremental build, it will only build the parts of the code base that are changed. Okay, it will figure out like which part has been changed, and it will rebuild that as well, only that part. And also we can build multiple applications at once in this way. And in intelligent caching, it caches the output of the previous builds and it reuses them, so that it will be a lot more faster. Okay, so this is the way to create a project using NX. So I discussed not to bore you with the slides anymore. So we'll create an NX project first. Okay, so just a second. I'll just create a folder probably. Demo. I'll have a terminal open over here. Okay, nice. Where is it? Okay. Okay, so if you see the commands, these are pretty similar, like with Angular. So it is giving us a lot of benefit. Doesn't mean that the setup needs to be very complex. So it gives us a very easier setup. So, and you can see we'll generate the application in the same command. So we'll just use this command to create a NX project. So I'm in this new folder. So I'll hit this command npx create NX workspace.latest. So in this process, we'll see like what are the benefits or the level of customization it gives us. So it is saying this that where you would like to create this workspace. So for this place, we can say this is Hasrin. So Hasrin the organization, and inside it I will have this is the workspace. Inside this I will have multiple projects. One can be for DNA, one can be for iTool or anything like that sort. And once that is done, it will ask me if I want a React, Angular, Vue, Node or none. If we'll go with none, you can later you can do the setup and all. But as of now, to simplify the process, we'll go with Angular. Okay. So once you choose Angular, now it is asking you, do you want an integrated monorepo or you want a standalone? So if you choose standalone, it will just give you a simple Angular project like you do in ng new, right? But we'll go with the integrated monorepo, so that we can have a multiple projects in that application. Okay, now it is saying the application name. So let's say my first application name is DNA. See, so this thing I was talking about, it is also asking which bundler you would like to use. That Angular never asks us. And if you will want to change the bundler, it will you will have to do a lot of configuration for that. So let's say Angular uses Webpack, but I will like to go with ESBuild this time. So ESBuild, and now the CSS part. Let's go with the CSS as of now. So it is asking, do you want server-side rendering SSR? I'll say no. Okay, so again, so it doesn't end here. So it will also ask me for the end-to-end testing. So I can go with Cypress. So again, Angular doesn't provide us this. So even there is more. So it will ask us if you want to have the pipeline set up from this point. Is it GitHub Actions or anything? But I'll say I'll do it later. But there is even more. It will say you if you want remote caching. I'll say yes. And it is saying as you are creating a new project, would you like to host it on GitHub? I'll say this is a dummy project for me. I'll say no. So that's all. Now it will create a workspace for me. So it will probably take a minute or so. In that meantime, I have a project set up. I can show you that. And when this is complete, we'll come back to this one. Okay, so this is one of the example of an NX project that I have created. So here the first thing, if you'll notice, in a Angular project we have an Angular JSON file, but if I'll do a Angular .json, you can see that nothing is here because it doesn't have a Angular JSON file. Rather, it have a NX JSON file. So the configuration are in this NX JSON file, and in this one, if you'll see, as I said, we can have multiple applications and I can have multiple libraries as well. So for them separately, I can have the different configuration. For the application, I can have a configuration like which lint or whatever things I want, and for the libraries, I can have a different set of configurations. Okay, so in this application, I have one application which is this one. So if I'll have to run this one, okay, we'll see the run part later. But before that, we'll see the libraries. You can see we have a lot of libraries inside this as well. So we can leverage these libraries using this conduit application. In that conduit application, so it is still creating. So in the meantime, probably I'll run this application. So to run, we have the similar command. We will say nx instead of ng. We'll say nx, and I'll say surf and the app name, which is the app name. Okay. So we'll say this will run the application. It should be quick. Yeah. So it was able to run the application. So you can see this is the application. So it has also a backend setup with this one, but let's ignore that part. So you can see that it was able to run that application. So this part was also pretty similar, but now we can see some of the good parts, the dependency graph with this one. Just a second. So I'll say nx div graph. So as you can see, I have one application. This is just a end-to-end one, right? I have one application and I have multiple libraries this application is dependent on. So I use this command nx div graph to see the dependency. So once after I hit this command, so it is taking me to this URL. Okay. So here this is the NX console. So here I'll show all projects. Okay. So you can see this built as this has built a tree for us, and this is the application that we are running on our board. So you can see if I'm clicking on this application, it is saying that highlighting all those nodes or all those libraries that this application is dependent on. Okay, so if I want, I can focus this, and I can also make it as a start point. So if this is a start point, and I want to see the flow for this one, like core forms. I change something here, and I want to see the intermediate steps. So I can click on this one, and I can say this is the end one. So there was no intermediate steps, so it just built a graph like that, and you can also export this graph to show to your team and all the dependency and all. So for now, let's clear them all. Okay, so this was the dependency graph. So in detail, so as you can see, like if you hover on one component, it will say highlight the use of in other places, right? So just a second. Yeah. So this is nearly done. So we'll see also some more advantages of this NX console. So apart from this dependency graph, so you can see while working on NX, you can install a NX console extension so that it will give you a lot of advantages. We'll see the advantages. So once you install that extension, you will have a NX icon over here. So you can click on this one, and you can see from this place you can click on generate, and you can see you can generate a lot of things. You can for Angular, for React. So I have not included React in this project. If you have included React, you can create anything, the components, directive, everything, and you can have a custom SSR or custom schematics as well, right? So you can generate a lot of things over here. So in the meantime, let's see if our application has been created. No. Okay, no problem. So it is taking some time. So in the meantime, we can see some more commands. Okay, so this was the steps to create application, and you can generate an application like that. So you can use this command ng generate this NRWL Angular and the app name. Else you can create go to this place generate, and we can say application, and you can give it a name. I'll just hide this part. You can give it a name and directory and all, and we can create an application. We can click on generate to create an application. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so then we'll learn a bit more about some of the NX commands that makes NX robust. So these are the basics commands like similar to Angular. So ng generate application, ng generate component, ng build, test, lint, all these things we can do. But on top of this, NX also gives us some more commands. So we can say this NX affected build. So I was waiting for this application to be created so that I can demonstrate this one. Okay, I will wait for some more time. So NX affected build is like if we have multiple application in a project, and if you are changing something, it will determine that like it is changed in this application, and it will build that application and affected build and test the similar one. And the dependency graph, we saw this right now. And also if you have to run multiple applications, so for example currently if we are running a cell and your particular application, we are using multiple commands for that. But in NX we can say we can pass a flag and we can pass the multiple of names with comma separated way, and it will run them all at once. And also NX gives you a command for NX format, right? So it will fix all those linting errors for you automatically. Okay, so this application is created. Great. So I will go to this application. I'll open this in VS Code. Oh, nice. So currently we'll see we have one application inside this DNA. Okay, so let's try to run this application. So I'll just close this application as of now. Okay, so we'll play with this application. We just created this application from scratch, so it will be better for me to explain. So we'll say NX serve DNA. Okay, so it is running my DNA application in localhost 4200. So you can see this is the landing page that NX provides us, similar to Angular. There is a landing page. So now let's have a different application inside this. Okay, so I'll create on this apps folder because I want to have another application over here. Then I will say NX generate, and I will say application, and I'll give it a name. So let's say hire tool. Okay. So the bundler I can choose for that one. I was using ESBuild. Like for this one, I'll say Webpack. So we can combine them as well. Okay, routing and standalone, I will enable them because I want them all. So I'll hit and generate this application, and you can see this is creating the commands. Okay, in the console. So yeah, it created the command npx NX generate application hire tool, and the bundler is Webpack and all, and it created an application with the end-to-end testing file for us as well. So in another port, let's run the another application as well. So I'll say NX serve. The application name was hire tool. And I will probably run it on different port. I'll say port equals to the next port, which is 4201. Okay, so it should run it in the 4201 port. Okay, done. So we'll go to localhost 4201. So this is our hire tool application, and this is our DNA application. So we created both fresh application. So now let's say we'll try to build the application. So here I'll say NX affected build. So currently, like we have never built both of the applications, right? So it will execute both the application in parallel. So it will build both the application in parallel so that it can finish quickly. Okay. So okay, just a second. Okay, so you can see it built two applications. The first one was a DNA one. It took 9 seconds, and the second one was hire tool. It took 16 seconds. So now the both application is has built. So we'll make change in one application. Let's say in hire tool, I'll go ahead and I will make some change. So this is the boilerplate. So probably I'll make some change there. Yeah, Fox. Okay, so we'll see in this. Okay, we made this change. Okay, in the second application. So after this change, I will again hit that command NX affected build. We'll see this time. Okay, so you can see it is so here I use the second time, right? NX affected build. So it automatically detected that for the DNA application, there are no changes. Existing output matches the cache left as is. But for the higher tool, there were some changes it detected. So it only built that higher tool, and if you see this time it took last time it took 16 seconds, but this time it took 9 seconds because I had made the change in a small portion. So it has to build that small portion. Even inside the application, it has to build a small chunk of it. But if you compare it with the Angular CLI, it will build both the application from the scratch. So this is the we can say this is the advantages we are getting if you are using NX. So we'll go back to our slide. So we can also see this NX format, right? So currently there should not be any format issues, but I can show you this NX format. I'll say right. Okay, you can see quickly it changed the check the files and it updated because there are no changes, right? So it updated them as well. And NX console is the parent command. So using this, if you use this command, you can see the list of commands you have. Okay, that was NX list actually. Using NX list, you can see multiple commands. So this is not a direct command. So this is the plugin. Using this, you can discover what are the things that NX provides us. Okay, so let me see if we are left with anything. Okay, we'll go to the slide probably. Okay, there is one last interesting thing on this one. So we saw how we can create a multiple application and how it the intelligent build and caching works. So we don't have any libraries because in the last application we saw there were multiple libraries. Libraries will be like essentially we can say this is like a table or something that will be reusable across your multiple applications. But so that is pretty simple. You can create a library. But what is interesting is this buildable and publishable concept that NX gives us. Okay, so let's say I'll go over here NX terminal again, and I'll say generate, and I'll say library. Okay, so we'll see what are the libraries. So I'll say probably I have a smart grid. Okay, so you can. So let's hide this one as of now. Okay, so you can see there are two checkboxes. One is buildable and one is publishable. So this is the one we're talking about. So what is the difference is, so if you will just check buildable, so you are saying the NX that I'm creating this grid, but this grid will be used inside my application only, inside my workspace I will use this. But if you say publishable, if you check publishable part, where is it? It was there somewhere, no? Okay, okay, here it is, publishable. So if we'll check publishable, what it will do is it will make the necessary changes in that library automatically, so that you can publish this to any NX pool, or also you can publish it to npm as well. Okay, so if I'll give an example, let's go to npm. Okay, so probably I will see some packages. I'll show you some packages that I have published. Let take an example of anyone, probably a very simple one. So this is a package that I have published. So we'll go to the code part of it. What I wanted to show you is, okay, just a second. Okay. Dependency graph. So okay, this is a small one actually, so we cannot see that over here. But what we can say is, if you will publish a library to npm, it requires some additional steps or additional configuration. But if you just click on this one, publishable, while creating a library, it will make that application publishable, and it will make all those necessary steps for you, so that you can at any point of time you can just right click and build that application, and you can just deploy those build files to your npm account, and that will be live on that one. So if you do that manually, you will have to do a lot of work from your side. But if you use NX on that side, it will help you on that side. So that was all on this buildable and publishable sides. Okay, so we are almost done with NX. So I just have one last slide left with me. I'll explain that. But before that, I'll take a pause. Like if you have any questions or any doubts on NX. I know we touched on a very high level because it will be very hard for me to cover everything in a single session. So, but if you have any doubt or anything, whatever we discussed up to this point.
I don't have questions in NX, but what backends this project is using?
Which one? So this is the project I just created from scratch.
Okay.
I don't have
You
any
are-
backend.
Okay. You were displaying some conduit project that had backend.
Yes, that has a Node.js backend. So that is not in this repository. That has been hosted separately. So I have used some dummy APIs only just to create them.
Okay. So you have worked on earlier projects which had NX implementation.
Yes.
functionality.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, I'll take it as a no. So we'll move forward for the last slide. So cherry on the cake. So this is a new library again. It's a storybook. So I'll explain a bit about this one. So storybook is like you must have heard about storybook. In UI, it is very popular. So in storybook, what happens is if you are using NX or any monolith architecture things, it is saying that build the UI without the groundwork, and you can build these pages in. And what this means is, so if you use storybook, you have to write the component. Let's say you are designing a component, so you can write it using storybook syntax. But from this syntax itself, you can generate any code. You can generate Angular, you can generate React, Vue, even for your Android as well. So you can generate everything. So this is, you can say this is as a trend. I have seen most of the projects recently preparing to use storybook, and there are also in the I'm seeing this in a lot of JDs as well. Okay, so people are definitely considering this one because in one code base you can different a lot of codes. This is the storybook, so I'll highly encourage you to discover this storybook. And also there is one similar thing I found is Stencil.js as well. Okay, so this is also one similar thing. You can build, you can write your code over here, and you can export it to Angular, React, or everything. Okay, this is it has its own syntax and it can be exported. But if you compare Stencil with Storybook, Storybook has a lot of user base and support. So I'm not covering Storybook on this this session. So we'll probably see it in some upcoming session. So yeah, that was all for this session. So this is just the CSS I used to center this. Thank you to the center of this page. Okay.